first official
episode
of the Hooligan and the Harridan podcast.
Hooligan and the Harridan.
What did I just say?
Harridan.
All right, episode 1.
And you've had a sip of alcohol.
Not a sip.
Already.
Not even nothing.
Fucking it up. Alcohol is bad for your brain, people.
Hooligan and Harridan. So before we kind of get going here, this is we're a little rusty here. We haven't recorded in like a month in between you and I.
But
so
for legitimate reasons,
right? But give everybody a little bit of a background on the podcast. So what I'm going to do is, this is the first episode of the new Hooligan and the Harridan podcast, but I'm going to co-release them on Cornerstone page and the new one for the first couple episodes, and then everything will be just on the new podcast platform. So new Instagram page is out, set up the Facebook page soon, and
our friggin' graphic is awesome.
It's badass. I need to that is going to be our sign that's going to be up there soon. And then I'm going to have Ryan
stickers.
And Will from Constructive Solutions, one of our sponsors. He is going to be they made these rad signs, the AM Strength one and our Cornerstone one over here.
If you're watching, you can see them.
Yes. And
you can also see me bundled in 2 sweatshirts and boots with the fur and a heater on my legs because we're in our garage in Montana and it's 43 degrees
I know, outside. We got this badass logo. We're in t-shirts and muscles going, and then like we're all fucking bundled up.
It's so cool. But I love it. I love seasons. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It's the best part about living here.
So this is the first official episode on the new platform. And before I start getting ripped, because I already have been getting ripped.
You have?
Yeah. They're like, she's not an old woman. She's not a hack. She's not a nag.
Okay.
I've had about 3 or 4 people message me.
First of all,
Denver was one.
This name is my pick.
Exactly. Thank you.
We were driving.
Say that again.
We were driving down to California for my sister's wedding, and we had talked about just doing our own thing because our segment that we were doing on Cornerstone was getting a lot of downloads. So
yeah, getting some good interest.
I have a list. I should read the list. I should read the list of names that we have.
Oh, you made a list. I forgot.
Oh, man. Remember?
There were some good ones.
Oh. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So the majority of these bad ones are mine, just so you know.
I had a couple goofy ones.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one I have on here, I wrote all of these down, is the creeper and the cunt. Again, that's the one I came up with.
I love that. There's some people from church that are going to be listening to this.
No, there aren't.
Yes, there is.
No.
Jason, let's start listening to it.
No.
We're also the new youth group leaders for the church. So
okay.
Go ahead, names.
Then the one Alex came up with was Strength and Chaos.
Strength and Chaos.
And I was like, meh.
I was trying to incorporate your name, your business name. This is when we first started coming up with names.
No, this was driving in the car.
That's what I meant.
We had just passed St. Regis, so we've been driving for 2 hours.
With 5 kids.
The next one is naked jiu-jitsu, and I was like, hard pass. Then we have butt touches.
So if you've listened to any of the first 8 or 9 episode segments we did together, butt touching is what we refer to.
Doing it.
Yes, in front of the kids. Not doing it in front of the kids. Jason, remember, it's Talk to
your kids about sex. Don't have sex in front of your kids.
Exactly.
And then Alex's was Strength in Numbers, because there's 7 of us in our family.
Did I come up with that one?
Mm-hmm. Huh. And then Organized Anarchy was the one that I came up with.
Organized Anarchy. I was going to say Organized Chaos, but I'm sure there's like 100 podcasts naming that out already.
And then the next one is, what'd you say?
Because our whole freaking house is.
And then the next one was House of Misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Which is still like a really legitimate one, because when we lived in California, we had this house that we had everyone over to kind of all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother was in the kitchen in our house and I was in the living room and I was saying something to him. I don't remember what it was. And he goes, bean sweat? What's bean sweat? I don't even remember what it was I was talking about. Another one was, I'd gotten this like fancy sheep's cheese and it was called Petite Basque cheese.
Mean sheep's ass?
Sheep ass cheese was what everyone else heard. And then The second to the bottom is the Hooligan and the Harridan. And then, and I looked up, I mean, I knew what it meant. And Alex says, what does that mean? And so I looked it up for him to give him the direct definition. And yeah, it says like old, what is it? Like old crotchety, not really crotchety, but just like harpy is basically the essential meaning of it. Essentially what that means. And I thought it's funny because I'm not old, but I can also be a hard ass. So there's that. And then the last one was a nod to therapy, assertive, not aggressive.
Right. Because we're launching this new venture as we just started our couples therapy venture. So working on our old shit. So
which is
a lot.
So old. Yeah. So those were our names. So the Hooligan and the Harridan was mine. I just liked.
At first, I was like, "What?"
I liked the alliteration, the way that it fit. I felt, and Alex was like, I told him what the definition of hooligan was. He's like, "I'm not a mischief maker," and I was like, "Okay, well, you don't know you very well."
Compared to other people I know.
Yeah, I don't know who you know.
Yeah. You know who I know.
No.
What?
So I felt like that one kind of stuck out to us. So that's what we decided to go with. And anybody who's been harassing Alex, he did not pick that. I actually had people be like, "Ha! I just Googled Harridan. Ha!"
Yeah. I love that people have to look this up.
And I was like,
and that's so you. It's so like, you know, because how many times in our relationship have we been where you said something like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you saying?" Like,
probably one of our bigger or dumber fights.
That would go into dumber fights and topics. Yeah. But I was like, "What are you saying?" And you would tell me. I'm like, "Why don't you just say that?" And you're like, "Why don't you get a dictionary?"
Because I had to say 15 words to say the one thing that I needed to say. Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, you married me, so there you go."
Yeah.
What was that?
Okay.
All right. So the Hooligan and the Harridan.
That's our new name. Yeah. I still like our first one.
What was it again? Something in cunt?
The creeper and the cunt.
First of all, why am I a creeper?
Because you're the king of creepers.
What?
Dude.
That's so
coming out of the
misleading.
darkness. No, it isn't so misleading. It is about? So accurate.
Protector, not creeper.
Okay. Creeper.
All right. So basically what we've been doing with the Q&A show has been the, half hour of this banter, fun back and forth between us, which I am surprised at how many people actually enjoy and laugh their asses off to that, which is cool because it's just half ends up being a bunch of inside jokes between me and you.
Hashtag Dick and Balls are so inconvenient.
Go back and listen to the last episode.
Not if you're in the youth group or in the church.
Hey, it's labeled explicit, all right? So I've washed my hands of responsibility there.
Ooh, okay.
It's on them, right? So, hey, Elias still goes like, "Can I listen to your podcast?" I'm like,
no.
Yes, but
no.
Well, depends on which episodes. Not mine and yours. He means like the podcast.
Oh, yours, but not ours. No.
So, so a bit of banter, some fun, and then we got into some Q&A that you got from the interwebs.
You have some too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
got a lot of engagement from these questions. Yes. It was really fun to have conversations with people.
Right. So now this one, what we're doing is we're going to switch up the format just a smidge. So instead of throwing questions out there, what we're going to do is we came up with a
list.
Bunch of topics. I mean, how many topics
10.
do we
have 10 topics.
We have 10 so far. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to keep adding to that. And then what we'll do is instead of putting questions out there to ask like directly towards Anna Maria or myself, it's more of like, hey, what are some topics you'd like us to cover?
Or we'll ask a question.
Or throw a question out.
And we'll see what the answers are. Because that's what we did here is we asked 2 questions. Yep. And this episode is going to be, so we asked the biggest fight you've had with your partner and the dumbest fight you've had with your partner. And so we're going to cover the biggest fight on this episode, and then next week we'll cover the dumbest fight.
Yeah. Just to throw this out there anonymously.
All of these are going to remain anonymous.
Yes, unless somebody says they want.
Which nobody has. They're all remaining anonymous.
But there was one person who submitted one for both categories. It was the biggest and dumbest in his opinion. It was about firearms. So he's obviously pro firearm. His spouse was not.
So
it's under both.
That's
biggest and dumbest.
So we'll cover that one. We'll cover that one.
So today we're going to do biggest arguments.
Yeah, and the next one will do dumbest.
So should we
because I have 8 responses for biggest, and
Okay.
I have 8 or 9 for dumbest.
So I don't think we talked about this. Are we going to put our answer
Yeah,
yeah, in here too?
yeah, but I haven't even thought about it. What our biggest fight has been.
Oh, I think of like 7, and I think like 6.5 are my fault. So,
Oh, okay. All right, now I'm interested. Like what?
I'm just saying the biggest ones I can think of off the top of my head, like the 2 really, really big ones, are both my fault. So yeah.
Okay.
You can't?
Do we want to talk about that on here?
Not right now. Let's start with other people's stuff.
Okay.
As I sip my whiskey from my Christmas mug.
That was your client made that.
No, one of my trainers in California made that. Linda made it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I made that collage
Yes.
on the Instagram
I
back
posted
in
it
the
on
day.
Instagram. She took the picture and made a mug out of it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's before Phoebe was born.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the twins' first Christmas.
It's funny. Phoebe starts asking now, our youngest, who's going to be 4 in January, because there's a 4-year gap between her and the twins.
5 years.
Almost 5 years. Yeah. Actually, it is 5 years.
It's 5 years almost
Yeah,
exactly.
You're right. Yeah. 2 weeks. She starts asking now, like, where am I when she sees pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Older pictures when before she was born. Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. And she got mad at you. I have to tell this. I have a little picture on my wallet of
My
a family
mom
photo
sent-
when we first moved here.
Moved to
Moved to Washington
6
this
years
is
ago.
6 years ago. Yeah, and number one, she's not in the photo, and because it was a family picture before she was even born, let alone
I think
pregnant.
the twins were almost 3.
Right, and then your hair was like dyed red. It was like a auburn red.
It was an
right?
ombre. It was dark red at the top and
Right.
like a light red at the bottom.
And she said she was
Mad about the
she was
dye in
mad
my
about the
hair.
hair.
Yeah.
She wanted to know where she was.
Yeah. Which I haven't dyed my hair since then. So.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
We should
Biggest
save the biggest dumbest, the one about firearms, towards the end, because we talk
sure.
about a relevant topic right now too that is in the news.
Okay. So let's pick one.
Okay,
You
so
got one from.
these are all anonymous.
Are they all anonymous?
All of them.
Everybody said.
I'll say a funny one first. This was a joke because I had to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
This person goes, she said no to the butt, so I kicked her to the curb, and I went, wait, what?
What?
My response was, wait, what? Do you mean like
Anal sex
in the butt?
Yeah. Yes, because yours was softer, more proper.
Yes.
Yeah, in the butt is more proper than anal sex.
And then I said, or do you mean like butt touching? He goes,
I think we're the only ones that are like,
he goes, I'm joking. It was a joke. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because I was going to be like,
you're a horrible person. We can't be friends anymore.
but I was like, you know what? There are probably people that have had a very big discussion or argument about that very same topic. So if it's you, now you feel heard and seen because we have added it to our lexicon.
Okay, so biggest argument. Some of the answers you got.
I'll go.
Or
And then
you wanna go?
I'll go and then you go, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
pull these back up again. Go ahead.
okay, so this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is a good one. The purpose and workings of the thermostat. And
Pierre, the argument with your roommates don't count.
it wasn't Pierre. It wasn't Pierre. It was somebody else.
Okay. I just look. We've been recording for almost 15 minutes. Like I felt like we had to drop my brother's name in there somewhere. So.
No, it wasn't him.
Okay, that's.
It wasn't him
I'm
I asked the question.
Okay, so
it was
the
like
argument over the
relationship
thermostat.
questions.
Go ahead.
And I asked for clarification on this, and that's what I did with some. I tried to respond to everybody's answer so that they would feel like they were heard, which is important because I wanted them to like continue to engage with us. But let me find it.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you not? You can find them in your stories.
I know. Then I got to go in the archives and just being retarded.
Lazy.
I was recording the podcast earlier with Scott, and that one has more to do with ownership of like your own crap as men and fathers, and and getting your head right before you start moving your life forward. And I was like, that's just retarded. I'm like, can I say retarded? He goes, well, it's your podcast. I'm like, it's your
with an I.
And then I said,
retard is in musical terms.
I said, well, actually, it's both our podcasts, and it was funny. So anyway,
had to be there.
Yes,
yeah.
You had to be there. Okay, go ahead.
So the workings of the thermostat was like purpose in the workings. So I said, what was the agreed upon purpose? Mm-hmm. And he said, agreement? You think there was an agreement? Oh no.
Oh, those are one of those, it's still not resolved.
Yeah.
things.
Well, he said they don't fight in like the traditional sense of the word. It was kind of an exaggeration, but it was a discussion. But he said,
okay,
just last night that he told her that if she was a superhero, her arch nemesis would be Dr. Thermostat because she will never quite know how he operates.
So that's one of the biggest arguments.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like if one of your biggest arguments and this is like the significant other, like married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like
they're married. Yeah.
I feel like if your biggest argument in your marriage up to this point is, or one of the biggest arguments you've had has to do with your thermostat, I feel like that bodes well for the relationship, or you're in big trouble. I feel like you can look at this both ways.
Well, here's the thing about these two lovely, wonderful people is they seem very even keeled.
Okay.
And so I think I have answers from other very even keeled people as well. And it's not that they're not passionate people; it's that they know how to fight well. I think. Or at least fight better than we do.
Like who it's from.
No, I'm not going to answer it. It's all anonymous.
No, I'm just
you can ask me after.
Yeah.
So the purpose of working to the thermostat. I don't know that we've ever argued over the thermostat. You and I. I've always known the purpose of working in the thermostat because my dad was in HVAC and metalwork as a kid, so I always knew what it was for. I have had a fist fight almost with my sister over the thermostat.
That's because she's weird.
How dare you?
She keeps butter in the bathroom.
She doesn't keep butter in the bathroom. That was one instance.
Okay. Just saying.
She was bringing the butter into the house because it was Thanksgiving.
Well, she's married now, so that's his problem now.
You're an asshole.
I love her. She knows that.
Yeah, well, anyway.
And she listens sometimes.
My sister, so historically my sister is always cold.
Right.
Always. And I was not like that. I was like, it's hot. Yeah. Like, so this is how she would wake up in the morning when we lived together, because we lived together before Alex and I got married. She'd wake up in the morning. She'd turn the oven on and open the oven door.
That's safe.
She would turn, I know. She would, it is actually, as long as you have ventilation. And then she would turn the heater up to 90. And then she would go get in the shower.
Reminds me of that.
And I was like, oh my God, have I woken up in hell because it's so hot.
Like an iron deficiency or something. I feel like it's like the episode from How I Met Your Mother. You need more protein.
Context. Not really in context.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead.
So then we got in like a full on, because what I would do is I would turn the heater off. I'd turn the oven off. I'd close the oven door and I'd open all the windows.
So you'd go like 180. Yeah. Like, fuck yourself. Not just turn everything off, like open everything up.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have our arguments.
I mean, I turned everything off,
yeah,
because I was like, I knew it was, and in that place that we were living at that point, we weren't paying for utilities. And so I didn't think, I was like, this is, and like, here's
my take on this whole thing, right? With the cold thing, the thermostat thing. And this is even when I was like,
I don't think it's like that this person's always cold and the other person's always hot. I don't think that's the case here. I just think that there's like a misunderstanding of what the purpose is or like what it does.
I don't think so.
I think so.
That's not what it seems like. I think it's an argument over the thermostat as far as like where to set it.
I don't think so. That's not what I got from the response. I just told you how they said it.
Repeat it, please.
Okay. It says the purpose and workings of the thermostat. And I clarified in a direct message with said person. And that person said that, I have to pull it up now again, read it again because you're stupid. That
calm down, Harridan.
Okay, you fucking hooligan. He told her that if she was a superhero, her arch nemesis would be Dr. Thermostat because she will never quite know how he operates. It's about the operation of the thermostat, not the actual temperatures. Why would that cause an
argument, though?
Maybe because he's telling her it's one thing and she's not agreeing with him, or vice versa.
Well, if you don't know how it works. That's like arguing with tech support when you call tech support. And you don't know how it works.
Maybe. Okay. Well, first of all, that's assuming your husband knows anything that he's talking about.
No, I'm saying
that's
it's like if you don't know.
That's an assumption.
No. I'm basing it off the fact that he's saying she doesn't understand how the thermostat works. It's not about like a man-woman role.
No, but what I'm saying is you're making quite the assumption.
It's an assumption.
You're making an assumption.
That's what he said.
It's not what he said.
What did he say?
He said the purpose and the workings of the thermostat. He didn't say like he knows everything either. So here's the thing. My dad knew about thermostats. There are lots of people out there that know shit about thermostats. So they might tell you, well, this is for this thing. And they're totally wrong. And their wife might be like, I think you're full of shit, because sometimes you are. And they'll be like, no. And then it'll become a big argument. Okay. So, let's be realistic.
I love how you're taking her side just because she's a woman.
No, I'm not taking her side just because she's a woman. I'm taking the fact that you're like, well, obviously it's like tech support, where tech support knows and the other person doesn't.
I was basing that off of the phrasing of the answer. That's why. So had nothing to do. Has
nothing to do with the fact that I'm taking the woman's side. I'm just taking the side of.
I can see you like with one of your ex-boyfriends sending this in, because you knew more about technical stuff than some of your exes did.
I mean, in that aspect, they were way better with computers than me.
Well,
so they spent all their time on them.
All right.
Anyway.
So
that was one.
Okay. I feel like that's like, see, it's more interesting if it was like about, where to set the temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a hot topic with spouses.
I'm sure it is. My thing's always been with roommates or significant people you live with, right? Is it's easier to get warm than it is to cool down. So if you're cold, you can put on layers. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, but I disagree, because when you're fucking freezing because you live in Washington and you can't get warm to save your GD life without like hopping in the shower, turning the thermostat up 2 degrees.
That's fine.
I think you could take a sweater off.
No.
Sasquatch.
That's fine. Who you calling Sasquatch?
You.
This isn't about me and you. We've never had an issue with the thermostat.
I know.
Yeah. We're always pretty much on
I'm just saying, for all those people out there that are like, I'm freezing, and the other person's like, well, I'm sweating, so you need to suffer. Like, okay. That means that if you're trying to get warm, that means you're like sitting in one place wrapped in a blanket to get warm.
Well, it depends on how cold you are. There's a little bit of discomfort. Anyway. All right.
Right.
Okay. Next one.
Right. You get to come up with one now, because I have a bunch.
Here's a good one. Being talked down to. So that's been a big one. So it's the way spouses talk to each other.
Tone of voice.
Right. So
that's a huge thing.
Well, it is. 'Cause, that's something me and you've had issues with before.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We still have issues from
time to time.
That
would be probably our biggest. I would say that's our most recurring.
Maybe most recurring.
Recurring argument. No.
No.
But definitely our most recurring argument. Because tone of voice matters. Like, you say, hey, can you do this or whatever, and somebody responds, no, as opposed to like, oh, I can't do that right now, I'm doing this. Like, that's going to put, if the other person is even slightly like agitated, it's just going to like raise their agitation level up to the point where they're going to start responding in a nasty way back, if they're human at all. And some people are fantastic arguers and they don't rise to that stuff, or they have enough of a like affection surplus that stuff doesn't ruffle their feathers.
Yeah.
If they're feeling a little like deprived, or their love cup is empty, to sound like a total goober.
No, that makes sense.
Then they're going to respond, I feel like, in a more drastic way to tone of voice.
Yeah. Than
if they are feeling secure or heard or whatever it is.
I was listening to a podcast today, and the guest was talking about how people sometimes have a hard time realizing that, for the most part, and this is kind of simplifying it, but basically, we as humans, we exist in only one state of being at a time, right? So meaning like where you are like emotionally, right? And that has nothing, it's not saying you can't have complex emotions, right?
Right.
No, what you're saying is just like,
where you exist in that moment.
Yeah, like where you are in that time, right? Like you're for the lack of a better term, like not so much your mood, right? But where you are, like, are you in a state of like fight or flight? Are you in a state of like calm? Are you in a state of depression? Are you in a state of anxiety or excitement, right? Like things like that, right? And then that state will kind of dictate your response and your energy output towards people, towards the tasks you accomplish or avoid in your life, like everything, right? Kind of affects everything. So I think when you look at it that way, right? I think a lot of people don't realize sometimes either where they are, and then when they respond to somebody, number one, should they even respond? And then number two, like, are you in the right state of mind to even have the conversation that the other person is trying to have with you to begin with, right? And I know I struggle with my range of conversation with the people in this house I'm talking to, because it'll go from my wife, a 3-year-old, twin 8-year-olds having a meltdown over who touched the other one first, and then
she punched me. Right. Well, she kicked me first. She said I was ugly. Yeah.
And then out of the blue, the man child, pipes in from like the other room, right? So just yeah. So I think that tends to be sometimes my biggest struggle. And then what happens is, because of the exceedingly like escalating sound and voices and varying degrees of responses and whatnot, then the overreaction is talk down to everybody and shut everybody up, right? Because we need silence. And that's something I know I do sometimes, and I know you do it sometimes too, because it's just like, oh, you made a face.
I'm just saying, you can take responsibility for your own stuff. Don't take responsibility.
I'm not taking responsibility. I'm not putting it on you. I'm saying it's things we struggle with.
You can talk about what you struggle with, and I'll talk about what I struggle with.
Yeah. I will remember that.
Yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Okay, so another one is where to live.
What do you mean?
Like as a family, like with your significant other, where to live.
Yeah.
That's like a big argument, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple friends actually who they still live in a place that they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And as things get more and more kind of crazy in the world with the government and all that stuff, and it's more noticeable in certain places where the local governments have also like drastically overstepped their responsibilities, their their purview.
Yeah.
They want to leave because they recognize like the situation as pretty dire and getting more dire by the day, and their significant other doesn't think it's that bad. And so that's for sure, that would be a struggle, I think.
Yeah, I think with that one, there's kind of two ways you can look at it. One is where to live, as far as where to settle down with a house, right, or property, and let's say you both agree on the area you want to be in, just like the actual physical structure, right? Like, I like this house, I like that house, I like this building, I like that one. But I think that would be a little bit more simple to resolve, and something harder would be like one person wanted to leave the area completely, or the state as a whole, right? And I feel like sometimes what happens is people will cling to the places they want to be, because for good reasons, which is the reasons given for the person wanting to move somewhere else. Like, there's not a good plan in place. There isn't a, like you're moving with like as you call it, like your hair on fire, right? You rush to do it, like, and there's no reason to rush, right? And the other thing is that holds people back is that you should leave like where you grow up. Like, it's a really good thing to do, at least for even if it's just for a short period of time, just to get a different perspective on the world, right?
Yes.
But then what happens is people want to stay, and that's fine, staying and raising a family close to your family, whatnot. Nothing wrong with that. We did that for a while. But I think if you're staying just for the sake of staying, to be around certain people, but your life is not getting better, and your circumstances and your opportunities aren't improving, and they're actually getting worse, regardless of what your
work output is staying the same.
Yeah.
But things are not.
Yeah. Things are worse. Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah. And the opportunities are getting worse.
Better. Yeah. They're not progressing.
Dwindling. Yeah. Yeah. Because of things going on, like cost of living is going up, job opportunities.
You're getting priced out of being able to buy a decent sized non-hovel.
Yeah. Well, and then maybe what you want for your life and for your family is not really attainable for the place you're living. So you are starting to look in there, and then you get in this like crux of this position of like, one person is like, okay, let's go. This is where we want to go. And the other person's like, yeah, but everybody's here. And it's like, well,
everybody's here till they're not.
Exactly.
That's the thing is,
it's not like everybody's staying there to live for you. Yeah.
Our kid, every time we go back home to visit, our kids are like, oh my gosh, I wish we lived here, because whenever we go back home to visit, we get to see everybody that we want to hang out with.
Well, also sometimes there's an event, so then there's people that
Don't
live there anymore that did live there that are coming into town as well. Like recently, your sister's wedding, right? So we saw a bunch of your family that they grew up around for a period of time before we left, but also they don't live there anymore either.
But also, a lot of them had already left.
Yes, exactly.
By the time we moved,
3
of my siblings lived, like 2 were in the Marines. One's married to an Army guy, so all 3 of them were gone.
Yeah.
My other brother had moved. So there was one, in fact, there were no siblings close by.
Cicely was.
No, she wasn't. She was in San Francisco. That's not close.
Oh, you're right. She did move there before we left, and we were in Santa Cruz. Yeah, you're right. I
so
helped her move. Yeah.
We had no close siblings.
Yeah. Oh, and then Sophia was down south at that point.
Yeah. We had friends, but we almost never saw them because every single person that lived there was just like us and
working their
scrambling
ass off
just to pay rent.
Yeah.
So, like, it just became like we were staying in a place where we didn't see the people that we wanted to see anymore.
Right.
The reason, like, the people that we were staying for were not accessible to us because we were all just on the wheel.
Right.
Trying to, get ahead. And so moving first to Washington and then here was like a gradual, like, readjustment of our lives. And of course, we had already decided we will always go visit our family,
which we've done
in excess.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. Like, we've had a handful of visits from family members, and we've gone down there over 10 times. I mean, we went down there 5 times in the last 12 months.
So we're shaming everybody who's not visited us.
I'm not shaming them. I'm just saying, like, if you're important to us, we will come see you wherever you live, and that's because we're about relationships and experiences. So, yeah.
I think also sometimes when you do move and you experience new things and you put yourself in a position of a little bit of a state of discomfort and unknown, it pushes you to kind of go the extra step to kind of reassess your life and look at things that, I was really comfortable here. I wasn't doing these things that I thought I was doing. And then you get the door open to a lot of different opportunities, different experiences, different people. Like we were talking to the kids about when we, after a few months of living here, and the conversation came up about, Washington and then California. And I said, well, look at it this way. I said, you miss everybody in California, right? They go, yeah. I said, but you see everybody, right? They go, yeah. And we keep in contact. We make sure, like, as your parents, we go out of our way to make sure that you have that communication asset, whether it's through FaceTime or sending letters or visiting, right? Or them coming to visit us. They go, yeah. I said, but if we never moved, you never would have made your friends that you made in Washington. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. I said, and then we moved here, and they go, yeah. I said, now think about, we've been here a year now. How many friends have you made and experiences have you had and opportunities have you had because we live here, because we don't live in Washington anymore, right? They go, oh, that's a good point. I said, but that doesn't mean like your life in Washington doesn't exist anymore. But
or that it wasn't the experiences. Like, cool.
Yes, exactly, right? Or the people you knew, right? So all those things are as adults, people struggle with that, which is they think that if I just stay here, then everything will stay the same, and this comfort zone is going to stay the same, and things they'll get better. And I think that if there's a logical reason why to move, and you both as a couple, getting back to the original point about fighting where to live, and you both agree on like, we want to move and these are the boxes we're looking to check off for places, and you come up with them and it's feasible, you can make it work, there's opportunity there, and one person doesn't want to go because of fear or just because of that, then that's going to cause a huge,
that's going to be an issue.
Well, and it's not only going to be an issue in that argument, that's going to be one of those things that can eventually cause a downfall of a marriage.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there's lots of things that can cause downfall.
No, I know,
marriage,
but like, we're talking about that subject.
They erode foundation, and that's what happens.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to another question, an actual question from somebody. So this is a good one, because it's not like super funny or super sexy or any of those things, but it's a very solid argument, and it's cell phone time and limiting it. So now,
that's a big one.
So when we first started dating, you had a cell phone. I did not.
You had Nokia with the game Snake on it.
No, you had the Sprint camera phone.
No, Wait, did I?
Yeah, you did. And it was like the first
right. It was the first
camera phone.
Yeah.
It was like,
I worked at Circus
like
City.
half a megapixel or
I
like
spent like
whatever.
half my paycheck on it.
Right. And then you bought me for our first Christmas a cell
Nokia,
phone
yeah.
with the game Snake on it.
That's
and it was
right.
like silver or whatever.
Yep.
But
Fancy.
we have gone from analog phones that cost you per minute and like per text message to supercomputers in our pockets where you can play games, you can watch movies, you can read books, you can run a business, you can answer emails, you can do like form breakdowns, you can screen record, you can do everything from this device in your pocket, and it's infinitely time sucking.
Right.
So
and addictive
because
and they make it that way too. On purpose.
I mean, the access to games like Angry Birds or, whatever. There was a game, Bejeweled or whatever it was.
Yeah, I never went down the game rabbit hole after I stopped playing Xbox when we had Elias. And that was 13 years ago.
Right, but you definitely had an Angry Birds thing on your phone for quite a while.
I think everybody did because that was the first
I remember you got your big
motion.
full screen phone, and it was like, whoa, you can play Angry Birds on it, and it was touch screen, and you could like.
Oh, that was the HTC. I remember that phone. Elias was like 2 or 3 at the time. Yeah.
Right. So So we've gone from a limited technology in that aspect to a very advanced technology, and with that comes opportunities to avoid connecting with people, or thinking that connecting with people on the internet is the same thing as connecting with them in person, or that if you want to avoid something, it's very easy to avoid it.
So how would you suggest a conversation should go that doesn't cause instant the other person to go on the defensive and then just get snippy?
This is going to depend on the person.
Huh?
It's going to depend on the person.
Yeah, I feel like just having the conversation, not having the conversation, telling someone get off your phone is not. Yeah,
it's tone. It goes right back to tone.
Well, it goes to tone.
It goes back to talking down to somebody.
Right.
If you're ordering your partner around like they're your child, first of all, that erodes a few areas. That one, it creates a power dichotomy.
Yeah.
2, it makes one person feel like diminished and the other person feel empowered or whatever. And then that creates issues in other areas. Like, I don't know about y'all, but if I have to treat my partner like a child, I am way less likely to touch his butt or let him touch mine.
Yep.
So, that goes back to the tone of voice thing. But of course, if you're going to have a conversation about something that you know is a touchy subject, then do it away from a charged moment. Like, if the person's on the phone and you said like, hey, can you get off your phone? And they don't do it, that's not the time to have a deep conversation about it because they're not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
The time to have that conversation is when their phone is away from them and you can say, hey, and what you have to do, or you don't have to, but this is what I've learned over all the years and all the therapies and all the growing up is use, I feel like, or this is instead of you in accusatory terms, and then avoid hyperbole. You never, because that's not accurate under pretty much any circumstance.
Right.
No one is always, no one is never.
Right. Like we just started breaking that habit not too long ago, I would say.
It's one of the 4 horsemen.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a therapy term.
Oh, we should do an episode on that. That'd be interesting.
We should. That'll be a good one.
Because we've had 3 sessions, so we're experts now.
No, but it's a really if people don't know about it, it's a super solid starting point.
Well, also it wasn't a surprise when it was structured that way. For us, it was looking at it going like, oh yeah, I recognize that and that and that and that. Yeah, these are totally things that are big things that kind of come up and actually have to be addressed. So back to the cell phone time and limiting it.
I definitely find myself using my phone in times when I really need to be focusing. What it does, say I'm teaching my kids, we homeschool our kids. Say I'm teaching the kids, and at the same time I'm answering emails and text messages. I am most definitely not going to be calm or measured in my responses to my kids.
Yeah,
because I'm doing 45 things at once. So
And they get annoyed because they're interrupting you, but like they're not interrupting you
because
they're
in school.
They're in school. Yeah. Can you imagine like when we were kids, like being in school and then like while the teacher's giving a lesson, they're on this like device and looking down, not looking at you, like and they stop mid conversation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah. And I'm sure that happens now in school.
Yeah. So what I find works best for me is having times where I have dedicated work time. So in our household, for the most part, cell phone is off or down. My phone is always on silent. Mm-hmm. Always. I have a smartwatch. I can see who's calling me. My phone is always on silent. That ringer is never on because I find it extremely obtrusive when cell phones ring in churches, at jiu-jitsu class, when you're supposed to be doing something that's focused on not your phone. Mm-hmm. When your phone rings, unless it's like your kids, an emergency, like a text message bling or an email notification, it just takes you away from whatever it is you're trying to focus on.
Right.
So my phone's always on silent. That's one of the ways that I avoid answering emails and text messages like instantaneously, because along with having a supercomputer in our pockets, people know that most people have a cell phone. So therefore they can answer them instantaneously. So they expect rapid responses.
Sure.
Even though like in the old days, I remember answering the phone as a kid. You would let the phone ring 3 times before you answered it. Like there was legit phone etiquette that we don't observe at all anymore. You let the phone ring 3 times, then you answer it, and you answer it with, "Hi, this is this place. May I ask who's calling?" And then the person says who it is and who they're calling for. Then it's just like, "Hey." And it, like, who is this? Who is this? Like, there was no, asking who it is was, they needed to know who the person was calling. Yeah. And not answering that question. Think about this. Somebody calls you and you say, who is this? And who is this? And they give you that shitty answer. I'm going to hang up on them right fucking then.
This is also before smartphones and a picture of the person calling you pops up.
And now we have scam likely, and I just don't even bother answering those and block that call or block this call or whatever. If I don't recognize the number, then I'm not answering it.
Yeah, I actually had to tell a client once after, and you know who I'm talking about. He would call me, like, because his schedule was completely opposite of mine, and he'd call me, and I wouldn't answer for numerous reasons, whether it's, it's at dinner time or whether it's in the morning and I'm at work. This is like when I work in the morning, or whatever. The reason was I didn't answer the phone. He would call like 3 times in a row, and then he would shoot me a text.
I don't even know who that is. I don't remember, but
Mike, yeah. So I had to actually call him back and said, "Hey man, like if you call and I don't answer, like I didn't answer for a reason. It's not like, I didn't hear the phone or
I don't know it's you.
Yeah, or that like I was like, oh, I don't feel like talking right now, so you're gonna call me 3 more times and I have to hit.
Also, you don't have to answer the phone. If you don't want to talk to them right now, they can.
That was my point.
That's my point that pisses me off.
Right, and I've had to tell some family this before too, as far as like with text messages go. They say, "Hey, you didn't get back to me." I was like, "Okay." It's like, well,
unless it's an emergency, don't expect a response.
Right.
Stat.
I don't.
Right.
I actually have a rule where I text somebody, and if there's a question and I don't hear back within, let's say 20, I usually give it 24 hours. That's like my general.
Yeah.
Then the next day I respond, "Hey, wasn't sure if you saw this or not. Did you get a chance to?"
Yeah. Because for sure, sometimes I'll see a text message on my watch.
Yeah, and you forget.
And I'll clear it.
Because you're doing something.
And the notification will go away on my phone. Right. So I've missed some texts that way. So absolutely. But going back to that, like having designated time. So in my case, I work from my phone or I work from my computer. So during school, I'm not on my phone for the most part. I'm not on my phone during jiu-jitsu. I'm not on my phone at dinner time, and I have 2 dedicated times in the day where I sit down on my computer and do work and do my check-ins with my clients. And it's half an hour to an hour max both times.
Right. Well, and the pitfall there too is like if you do go, and I think all of us have done this, numerous times, is you answer an email or a question, or you are working on something, and then what happens is as you're doing that, all these notifications start coming through, and then you started with like a quick response or a work project, and 35 minutes later, you're down the Instagram rabbit hole, right? And that happens
all the time.
It happens all the time. It happens more often than I'm sure we'd like to admit, right?
Yeah.
And to the point where I know me now, if you notice, I don't bring my phone to the couch when we sit down and watch, like if we have like our show time after the kids go to bed. Yeah, I just leave it up there, right? Because it's too easy to like boom, boom, boom. Because I turned off a bunch of notifications, but it's, I'll get a notification from my crypto investments. I'll get a notification from the 4 Instagram accounts I'm running now. You know? I was like, oh, I have 4 now, you know. There's, you know, text messages from clients. You know, half my clients work in security, so they're up till 3:00 in the morning, right? So I've got, you know, things that come in there too. And they don't expect a response back at 10:00 at night. You know, they know my schedule. Right. But it's the ping, 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 you know, and seeing it, the light go off and that kind of, even if it's off, right? Like you're, you know, so I think the whole thing of like, just like anything else, like when you're trying to be disciplined with something, it's like, just don't, like if you're trying not to eat crappy food, don't buy crappy food. Like don't bring it in the house to begin with, right?
So don't bring your phone to bed, plug it in and put it away from you so that it's not like right by you.
Yeah.
Don't bring your phone to dinner. Don't bring your, like when you're out on a date with your person, don't have it out. Like put it in your purse.
Yeah, we have a good routine.
Because when a phone vibrates, you can hear it vibrating.
Right.
I have a smartwatch.
Yeah, we have a good routine because our kids are home, and so you usually have your phone put away, and I have my phone out, but it's face down. So that way, if they call us for any reason, right, if there's an emergency, they can get a hold of us. That way, both phones are on vibrate in our pockets, and not, you know, you can miss something. So yeah.
Okay,
I think you have that conversation though.
Yeah, you do. You do it away from charged moments.
Right.
Like you never want to have unless it's like an emergent situation, or like a life or death situation. You don't have like that conversation where you know it's going to be a little bit touchy in a heated moment. Like you take a step back and take a break, and then come back to it, like timeouts or whatever. Okay, so let's go back to what we have here. Do you have any more of the biggest argument question answers?
No, a lot of them were like the
dumbest. Cool. So then we got the thermostat. We did that one. We said the no to the butt, cell phone time and limiting it. One of them was it occurred during our kitchen remodel, and I asked for some clarification on that because I was like, "What about your kitchen remodel?" Well, they were doing it by themselves, like on their own. So therefore, it's going to get a little bit more heated probably because it's stressful. It's hard to do, right?
What was the argument though?
So
what was it about?
I asked, I'm like, what about the remodel? Cabinet colors, where to put the trash can? He said, and I said, he listed all the things that they did. Like they put in new countertops, new hardware, soft clothes, everything. Like he sent me pictures. It's beautiful. It's really lovely.
But what was the argument?
But I said, which item caused the most argument? He said, cumulative total plus my passive aggressive mumbling.
So I feel like.
So it was like the total amount of work that was involved in putting in the kitchen. The fact that he built the upper cabinets. Like they painted everything, like it's really beautiful. They put in a new sink, new countertops, like new hardware, but it was over the budget and it was a missed deadline. So both of those things, when you're doing it yourself,
that causes a lot of stress.
Yeah, and you have nobody else. You can't like blame the contractor because you're
living in your construction zone.
Right,
that's always stressful.
Right. Yeah. So, and then like, of course, passive aggressive mumbling. Now, our podcast name of assertive not aggressive is tongue in cheek because I've always considered myself a sort of aggressive. Like there's passive aggressive and we joke in my family there's aggressive and I'm aggressive.
All right.
And my therapist was like, you mean assertive? And I was like, okay, I mean assertive. But as somebody who is like, if you have something to say, say it to my face.
Right.
When somebody's like, well, I don't under your breath, you're like, I'm gonna what? Say that louder for the people in the back.
We broke our kids of the habit really quickly.
Yeah, because it's like
it started up, and we were like, "Whoa, no!"
This was something that my dad taught me, and like I had a very tumultuous childhood.
Yeah,
I had a lot of really amazing moments in my childhood, but I had some really hard ones, and we were going through it when I was in my like preteens and early teens. And my dad said, I know this is really hard, so you can say whatever you want to say about me as long as you say it to my face.
Yeah.
And I don't know that in my other siblings, I don't know if my other siblings were really comfortable with doing that. But for me, I was much more comfortable like yelling it at him
Right.
than not saying it. Because I would just like think about the things and that would upset me. And so then I would scream it at him or yell it at him or just like throw it at him in anger. And he took it and he listened. Didn't always like it. Didn't always respond really positively.
Right.
But I feel like I got to say things that I otherwise wouldn't have if I hadn't done that.
Sure.
So we also tell our kids, if you have something to say, you need to say it to my face. And you can say whatever you want to say, but you have to say it to my face.
Yeah.
Because that like, you're dumbass, as they walk away to their room, like that's not going to fly. There has to be communication.
Yeah. I like what Andy says is like, if you don't feel comfortable saying it to that person in an elevator while it's moving,
don't say it.
Then don't say it. Yeah.
But I mean, with our kids is a little different because if we want to, well, here's the thing though, if we want to have open communication with our kids, then they have to feel like they can say anything to us without fear of reaction as opposed to response.
What's that thing, Meredith? In
brave, safe space.
Brave, safe
safe,
space.
brave space.
Safe, brave space. When I first heard that, like my initial reaction, this just tells you how screwed up I am, was it made me think of like all of those movies where you have the corny like parents that basically like just coddle and safe space their kids, right? That was my hold on. That was my and when I say initial, I'm talking like
gut reaction.
I'll be 42 next minute. It's like I will have this whole conversation and process and like I will play it out in my head in like the matter of like 4 seconds, right?
Yeah.
As far as like me laughing about it, saying it down, comment, everybody looking like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And go, don't say that.
Yeah.
But when they were explaining it, I was like, oh, that's a good idea, because it automatically harkened back to where sometimes I will struggle with the kids when they will say like, I don't want to talk to you about it. And I'm like, and sometimes
you have to give them space
sometimes
and time.
And my thing is like, I'll overreact and go like, no, you have to talk to me about it because we can't keep secrets from each other. And then because I'm thinking about all the crap that I went through as a kid. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, like that's a whole other episode.
Yeah. That's a whole nother episode.
Right.
But
so
again, that's like that.
Yeah.
Like, and this person recognizes that it's passive aggressive because it's just a way to like say stuff.
Yeah.
Without directly saying it. And if you're hurt or annoyed or frustrated, you can just say, hey, I'm really frustrated right now.
Yeah.
We have to be able to we have to normalize like saying what our feelings are.
Without being offended all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Okay. And then I've got 3 more. So
Pick one more good one.
Actually, I think they're all good in their own way, but
okay. Well, I mean, we got time.
Yeah. So one of them is, this was another person that says they don't really ever fight in that popular sense, but there are misunderstandings because they're good fighters and their personalities are such that they don't, like they shut down when yelling happens. Like they don't.
Oh, I know that.
Communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not some place that they feel safe to communicate, so they don't.
Yep.
And that's a trauma response a lot of times.
Bouncer mode.
Yeah. So, so mostly it's misunderstandings, this person says, but they get cleared up. But their biggest argument is one wanting alone time and the other not understanding or feeling like they're being rejected by the person that wants alone time.
Yeah. What are
your thoughts on that?
So it's twofold. One is, this is one of my instant reactions. In simplistic terms, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Meaning, what I mean by that, as far as like the person who's feeling rejected, that kind of thing. For the most part, that's somebody who probably has a problem or has a hard time being alone, like being with themselves. So there's a lack of confidence. There's a lack of ability to be in the moment, like by themselves and just exist. And then the other part of it is there may be a whole lot of crap that's there to begin with, which is there's a lot of already years of rejection of choosing the person over the other person, choosing things over your significant other.
Right.
So you're already that person's already being ignored, starving of attention, neglected, that kind of thing too. And then that gets to, you know, like I was talking about this earlier with Scott too, is like, you know, guys talk about like, my wife doesn't want to have sex with me. My wife doesn't want to spend enough time with me. My wife doesn't want to do this. And it's always a blaming on the wife. And no matter what the situation is, like in the group that we're in, we always address it with like,
have you taken a shower? Have you brushed your teeth?
Like, let's look at this first.
Farting all over the place? Are you a disgusting human being?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it was always like, how is this, like, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you doing to simplify it, right? What are you doing to make your wife want to actually be around you, right? Are you a confident person? Do you take care of yourself?
Yeah.
Do you
do what you say and say what you do?
Yeah. So I mean, there's like a myriad of things you could do, but like attributes of a person, right? So I think that's where those two things kind of go hand in hand. So, but if it's something as simple as all those things don't really exist, like you have a healthy relationship, you know, relatively speaking, and there's a balance, and it's just a matter of one person enjoys having alone time from time to time.
Yeah.
And the other person doesn't really want the alone time all the time. Well, then that's going to be a problem.
Well, and it can also predate your relationship.
Exactly.
Because it could be baggage from other relationships or baggage from childhood that they maybe haven't addressed, or it's their personality and it's the way that they feel loved. And that gets into like that love language thing that some people are aware of, some people aren't, but there's, you know, 5 love languages. And if you there's multiple tests out there free, kind of like the Enneagram tests and the Myers-Briggs test, like personality tests. There's lots of different versions out there.
Yeah.
But you take that test and it gives you your top like expressions of love, how you express and how you feel loved. And somebody who values, say, physical touch is one of the love languages. Yeah. Getting with somebody who values acts of service, that can be an issue.
Sure.
Or like words of affirmation, like somebody who values words of affirmation and the other person values acts of service, like they'll do things for you all day long because that's how they feel loved. And you won't feel loved because you're not telling them, hey, you're beautiful, or hey, you got a nice butt, or hey, this, that, or the other thing. Yeah. So sometimes those are the miscommunications there. And, you know, it sounds hokey. Like some people like, it sounds a little astrological. Like I'm a Sagittarius and you're a Libra and we should never communicate. It sounds a little bit like that, but it's not, because it's based off of psychology and it's based off of data. And it's just another tool. It's just another tool to give you insight into how you might be able to express or receive affection, love, all those things.
Well, a lot of it too is also your nature versus nurture, right? So like that's talking about nature, right? Personality type, you know, that kind of thing. And then you have nurture, which is how you were raised, what environment you were brought up in, and how you saw the people you cared about and the people that are your role models, how they treated each other. Parents, and if there's if there's like actions and words that are dissonant, then it becomes even more frustrating or more difficult. Yeah. No, for sure. It's it's definitely one of those things that where, you know, and you know, like that could be a whole series of podcasts just by itself, like that one subject. But if you want to break it down to really just move past all that stuff, and if it's really just something as simple as like one person wants alone time, there's no underlying issues, there's no big baggage or nothing. It's just something as simple as like they have a good relationship, but one person wants to have some alone time from time to time, the other person doesn't. Okay, then that's a conversation that needs to be had. Say, look, right, you're in a relationship with me, you don't own me.
Yeah. Even marriage.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Well, and the other thing too is like here's the thing about being married. Yeah. Is there are times when you're both giving 100%. Because this is my philosophy on marriage. You are giving of yourself to the other person to raise them up and to make them happy, and the other person should be doing the same thing back, right? Now, and I'm not saying like make happy. Happiness is a choice. Like contentment is a choice. Sure. But like doing the things that you know makes your person feel loved. Doing the things
otherwise,
that you know.
Why would you want to be with somebody, right?
Right.
If you're just going to be miserable.
But the other thing of that is that's not always going to be the case. So sometimes it's going to be 80-20. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40. Sometimes it's going to be 50-50, right? And you have to be able to go along with the ebbs and flows, but it can't always be.
Right.
80-20.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say to that is, if you're the person that wants alone time, then set up a schedule for you to have that alone time, but that the other person, of course, this is like a communication thing. The other person has to respect that alone time and not interfere in your alone time, because then it doesn't become alone time. It becomes more stressful and it doesn't recharge your batteries. Because like, think of an introvert, right? An introvert with an extrovert. And it's kind of like this, where like the extrovert craves social interaction and the introvert's like, okay, I'm good. But then all of a sudden I'm not, and I need to like go and recharge. Like, that's not a commentary on the extrovert. That's not a commentary on what they want to do, but if you recognize that you need something, like need it, not like I just want it, but you actually need it to like recharge your batteries, then you need to go do that. And the other person should respect it, as long as you're communicating those things openly. And I think with this particular couple,
sounds like that's what it is.
They've gotten better at the communication, and so it'll just get better. But I thought that was a good one. And then there's two more, but the answer for the dumbest and the biggest is the same. Okay. So I think we'll leave that one for the biggest or the dumbest. This is the last one.
The firearms one. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Guns.
I'll leave this very last one.
Okay.
Him and I, or him versus me, versus him and I versus the problem.
Wait.
So
him versus me.
Right. Instead of he and I versus the issue. So whenever an issue comes up, we're battling each other instead of addressing the issue. So she's talking more about like just the way they argue in the communication issue versus like in our case, specific argument. You saying like teamwork, we're on the same team, versus battling each other to address the issue, as opposed to like joining forces, to triumph over evil. Like, think about it that way, with our sword of togetherness or whatever. And I thought that was a good one, because that's something that we've struggled with for sure. I mean, we've been together almost 2 decades, so there's been a lot of struggles. But the fact that we're even doing this podcast now, it's like, I would say 5 years ago that wasn't even. Well, we had talked about, but then it was more of like a fitness thing, because we had the gym together. So. Yeah, but even then, that was just, there was a lot of contentious stuff going on there too, and not 100% communication. Yeah, but I thought that was a good one, because I feel like obviously we're not the only ones that deal with that, and I think that's normal. I feel like that is a problem or an issue that comes up with two people that are not a passive aggressive; they're just aggressive or assertive, if you will, and they don't feel like they can, like they've grown up in a space where they don't feel like they can rely on the people around them. So they've had to do a lot themselves, or they've like moved through a lot of trauma and pain and things like that by just kind of just like stomping forward, which of course you got to keep moving forward, because you just sit in hell otherwise. Yeah. And sometimes you got to be there for a minute, but you don't want to stay there. But, because that's something that we've dealt with. And the person that is saying this, I know this person, and I can see why that would, like, it makes sense. We have some similarities, she and I. So, you said to me, because we found that we were constantly fighting with each other. Instead of, we were fighting over things that we could have been joined together to address an issue and kind of resolve things. And you would say, we're on the same team. And I would be like, we're on the same team. But then I kind of figured out that, you're right. So, because we are. Yeah. We are raising our kids together. It's not like I'm raising our kids and you're not, like, separate. We're in this together, and we're not divorced, so we don't have to do it that way. And even like divorced parents that co-parent, they're on the same team. Yeah. They have to be. No, you're still, and if you're not, then you're not hurting each other. You're actually hurting the kids. Yeah. Yeah. No, your dad actually told us early on in our marriage, that, knowing both of us and the individuals that we are, and the work ethic and willpower that we have, that like, if we figured out how to work together, we could build an empire. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did
And he didn't mean that by like, you could just
stepping on the skulls of our enemies, climbing to the top.
No, he was basically saying you guys can accomplish big things and do whatever you want, basically, if you guys figure out how to work together in tandem versus you. Because, I mean, this was a life of what? A 1, 2?
The twins were...
Maybe the twins were,
1.5.
Yeah, because I remember...
We'd been married 6 years.
Yeah, been together 10 years at that point. Yeah. And I remember your dad was like, you're over here, Alex, you're over here doing this thing, and then she's over here doing this thing, and then you guys live together and raise the kids, you know what I mean? And he goes, and you end up having these like passive aggressive like battles all the time, and you got to figure out how to like actually
just
work
aggressive
together.
Aggressive.
Depends. But, well, this was his observation. Remember?
Right.
Yeah. So, I think that's... My observation is this, that I've realized this with age. Is that
wisdom.
The wisdom.
The
grace.
silver hairs and the beards.
Right. I think successful, like solid relationships, and mind you, a relationship could crumble like at any moment, right? Mm. But ones that are successful, that have a healthy relationship, those are people that either A, have been together a long time and figured out a way through determination, stubbornness, work ethic, will, you name it, whatever, right? And they've worked to be better and get better for, whatever reason. I feel like that's kind of the category that we fall into, having been together almost 20 years and been through a ton of shit that quite a few people probably would have got divorced over.
Yeah.
Then there's people that went through that at a young age, got divorced, and then through those lessons figured out like their own crap, and then also like the crap they won't put up with anymore. So then their second or third major relationship / marriage is the successful one because they went through the crap and they learned from that experience. You know what I mean? So I think it kind of falls into two categories there, And I know we know people in both categories, ones that have been together for 30 years and been through everything and they have a pretty healthy relationship, and ones that have like, they're on their second or third marriage, but like you see like this is the one that's
sticking.
Yeah. This is the one that's like, this is the happiest I've ever seen them. This is the, and they because they've learned from their past mistakes, Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So those are them. Those are all the biggest questions. Fights. So cell phone limiting, one person wanting time and another not understanding, self remodels, passive aggressive mumbling.
I'm surprised nobody said porn.
Ooh. Wow. Okay.
No, I am. I'm surprised like nobody said that. Right?
Maybe it's because it was my page.
What's that?
Maybe it's because it was my page.
What do you mean?
That they didn't say porn because I'm a lady.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm a lady.
I'm a
the
lady.
Lowercase L. I don't know, because I had responses from men and women, and I don't know if maybe they don't consider that a fight. Maybe that's not a fight that they've had. Maybe it's not an issue.
Good point. Yeah. No, that's a good one.
It's not always an issue for people.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that wraps up our first official episode
of the Hooligan and the Harridan.
That's what I said.
You said Harrigan with a G.
I don't know. I can't talk.
I know. And you have a podcast.
I have 2 now.
Yeah. Like what? What?
All right. So next week
it'll be the dumbest fights.
Which
are more fun. They're funnier.
They are funny.
They're not so heavy.
Yeah.
But we've had dumb fights too.
Oh God. Still have dumb fights. We will be like in the middle of a stupid fight, and one of us will be like, whatever, I don't care. Like, how do we get out of this? Like, get me off this boat.
I am diving off.
You win. I don't care.
12 angry men. Yeah. If there was a boat and they could only hold this many people, I will gladly jump over the side. Thank you. I don't want to have this conversation anymore.
All right. So, if you have a stupid argument you'd like to share that you've had with your significant other, then
DM us on Instagram.
Yep. Send it our way.
Either AM Strength or Cornerstone of America, or our page, the Hooligan and the Harridan, which is up. It has our graphic on it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I'm going to make vinyl stickers, so those will be up, and I'll probably make T-shirts eventually.
I'm for sure getting a hat.
Yeah, that needs to be a hat. we'll see how successful this gets before I make a big run of t-shirts. But stickers I can definitely get done. Because it's pretty freaking cool looking.
Yeah, so, this is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was fun.
Was it Matt that you were talking about? Was the client that would call you at all hours?
No, what's his name? Freaking Mark.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah. Call. Like I don't answer. Calls again. Calls again. It'd be like at dinner. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Like, I don't know if you. No, man. Leave a message. Yeah.
know how to fight well, I think. Or at least fight better
See, now I
than
want to
we
guess,
do.
like, who it's from.
No, I'm not going to answer.
Well, I'm not
it's
going
all
to.
anonymous.
I didn't-
Right. So,
Yeah.
so we've
Instagram accounts I'm running now. You know? I just was like, oh, I have 4.
and I need to like go